Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello class. How's life today? I hope you always healthy and always be happy. Okay, in this meeting I will give you the materials about poetry. But before I started, I wanna ask you first, do you know about poetry? Do you remember about poetry or anything what you know about poetry? Okay, jadi what is poetry? Poetry is the literature that evokes a concentrated, imaginative awareness of experience or a specific emotional response through language, choose and arrange for its meaning, sound, and rhythm. And the next is the basic element of poetry. Do you know what the basic element of poetry? I will tell you. Okay, the first is matter. Matter is the rhythmic structure within a poem and is dictated by the number of syllables and the pattern in which the syllables are emphasized. And the second is rhyme. Rhyme is created when the last one or more syllables within separate word match. A poem is considered to rhyme when the last word of the lines within the first share this relationship. And the third is scheme. Scheme refer to the rhyming pattern within a verse of poetry. The scheme could contain words that rhyme at each of every line throughout the stanza, or alternating lines, or incomplete. We often signify the rhyme scheme using an arrangement of letters. And then the fourth is the verse. The verse of the poem is a way to describe the relationship between rhyme and matter in a poem. And the last is stanza. A stanza is a group of lines within the verse of a poem. They often follow a similar pattern or matter or contain a similar idea, but not always. They are separated from other stanzas within the poem through the use of a break or a blank line. It's all the basic of poetry. The next is haiku. Their short poems are popular assignments for students in creative writing, and they can be super fun to play around with, especially if you're pretty used to writing your own poetry. Haikus originate in Japan after being popularized by the famous Edo poet Matsuo Basho in the 17th century. And the next is the sestina. The sestina is another popular type of traditional poem which has its origins in 12th century France. These usually unclaiming poems have strong pattern of repetition and a right structure that is quite complex, but once you get the hang it, sestinas become easier to identify signs they are unlike anything else. And the next is the villanelle. Villanelles are quite similar to sonnet and sestinas in the sense that they have strict rules and rhyme schemes. Their structured poems are 19 lines long and just like the sestina, and they feature plenty of repetition. They are generally ordered into 3-line stanza followed by one stanza with 4 lines. And then the next is the acrostic. Acrostic poem spell out a word, phrase, or name with the first letter of each line. Most people will remember having fun with acrostic poem in a school. Kids particularly love acrostic poems as they have simple rules and there are plenty of room of creativity, but that's not to say there aren't plenty of serious writers throughout history who have harnessed the acrostic poem too, such as this example by Edgar Allan Poe, and the man is an acrostic. And the next is the elegy. An elegy is a traditional poem with roots that trace back to the ancient Greeks. Elegies generally contain an overreading them of death, loss, mourning, or reflection. They were and still are used as a mediative device to mark the passing of a friend or a loved one, or a person of high public standing. They are also a consign where elegies have been used to explore a broader sense of loves. For example, the end of a civilization or era. And then the next is concrete poetry. Concrete poetry is a focus not just on the meaning of the word, but also on the visual representative of those words on the page and how they are arranged. Concrete poetry is often written in a popular form, shape, or image that adds an extra dimension or meaning to the poem itself. And the next is the limerick. Limerick are simple 5-line poems that have their roots in Ireland and England. They consist of 5 lines that form one single stanza and follow the rhyme scheme of E. The first 2 lines are generally longer, and the second 2 are shortened, and the final line is a summary, often even a kind of punchline that completed the poem. And the next is the epigram. Epigrams are not always poems, but they often are. An epigram is a clever, witty, wise, or amusing remark delivered in an often satirical way. They are short by nature and often having a funny ending. And the next is the ballad. Many of us are used to hearing ballads in the form of music, but that's not always how they present it. A ballad is a way of telling a story through poetry. It is an aside from a poem that was traditionally passed down from generation to generation, often only orally. And the next is the tanka. The tanka is a traditional Japanese poem that literally translates to short poem or short song. It's known to be the oldest from the poetry in the Japan and has a root extending almost 1,000 years before the existence of the haiku. Despite their age difference, the tanka is similar to a haiku since there is an emphasis on the syllables in each line. However, there are some key differences. And the next is the ode. The ode is a poem written to address a particular subject, either a person, a place, an event, or a thing. Odes have their roots in ancient Greece and are generally praising in nature and intended to complement and glorify. And the last is free verse. Free verse poems are exactly what you might imagine. They're poems without rules, structure, or limitation or any kind. It doesn't have to rhyme, there's no need to count syllables, and they can be as long or as short as you like. Free verse poetry is wonderful as you can really let your imagination get carried away without constraints. But it can be equally daunting since it's hard to know where to start and when the possibilities are literally endless. And the next is the way to do poetry reading. With poetry reading style can be studied with a structural approach. How to read? Number one is reading over and over. Let's just say this stage is to recognize the form of poetry as a whole. Reading poetry over and over again will make the reader realize what poetry is really saying. Likewise with the form typography of poetry, which can continue to be stretched until all the script of this poem are found. And the next is pause. After understanding the form and contents, of course we can give a pause in each sentence. This pause, apart from giving time to catch their breath, can also make the audience aware of what the poem want. And the next, understanding the flow of poetry. Every literary work must have a plot it in. Does it mean that every poem also has to plot? You should be able to find where the beginning conflict and ending, the way you can know which part to press. And number 4 is understanding the meaning of adjective. The follow is an explanation of understanding the meaning intensively according to several experts. After doing the above step, the last stage is the stage that takes a long time to reinterpret the meaning of the poem. This interpretation takes a very long time. The process of contemplation takes place here a lot. Not enough 10 until 20 minutes to find the life of the selected poem, but it can take 2 until 3 days. At the beginning of this stage, it must be done seriously, that it can be done on, and the slightness of daily activities, for the example, lying while eating. Okay, this section I will give you the assignment. The assignment is make a video reading poetry in front of all your family. Then the video on upload in YouTube channel, your YouTube channel, and share the link to me. The deadline is next week. I think it's enough in this meeting. Thank you so much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.